The hype was real, and so was the fear of deadlock. We have been asking this question for a while now, probably the most important yet boring question about the G20. Will there be a joint statement? Well, we have the answer now. There is a joint statement. The New Delhi Declaration has been adopted. Each and every G20 member has agreed to this. I'm sure Indian diplomats are breathing a sigh of relief. You see, most of the G20 meetings this year did not have a joint statement. Not the foreign ministers, not the finance ministers, not the trade ministers. But when it mattered, India got the job done. How it happened is also interesting. The G20 Sherpas or envoys had been working for days. They were stuck on one subject, Ukraine. The Western countries wanted tough language against Russia. Moscow and Beijing disagreed, hence the deadlock. Now for a while it looked like no joint statement would emerge. And it could have been embarrassing. Because every G20 summit has had a joint statement. Imagine if India ended that streak. So the pressure was real. Around noon today, some positive reports emerged. There was talk of a breakthrough. And then before the second G20 session came a surprise announcement. Take a look.
अभी एक खुशखबरी मिली है हमारी टीम्स के हार्डवर्क से और आप सभी के सहयोग से नई दिल्ली G20 लीडर समिट डिक्लेरेशन पर सहमति बनी है।
today, but as far as surprises go, it was a pleasant one. So what exactly does this declaration say? It is 34 pages long. It covers dozens of issues like the war in Ukraine, sustainable development goals, climate financing, cryptocurrency, tackling terrorism, a whole host of issues. On Ukraine, the text is quite interesting. Here is what it says. Concerning the war in Ukraine, while recalling the discussion in Bali, we reiterated our national positions. All states must act in a manner consistent with the purposes and principles of the UN Charter in its entirety. All states must refrain from the threat or use of force to seek territorial acquisition against the territorial integrity and sovereignty or political independence of any state. It's a bit different from the Bali statement. That one mentioned Russian aggression. It also mentioned the United Nations resolution which asked Russia to withdraw from Ukraine. The Delhi Declaration does not. Instead, it adds a statement which Prime Minister Modi said to Putin. Today's era must not be of war. At first reading, the difference is clear. The Bali statement is much sharper on Ukraine. India's foreign minister was asked about this difference. Listen to his response.
I would only say Bali was Bali and New Delhi is New Delhi. I mean, Bali was a year ago, the content, the situation was different. Many things have happened since then. In fact, if you see, in the geopolitical segment of the Leaders' Declaration, there are in totality 8 paragraphs, 7 of which actually focus on the Ukraine issue. And many of them highlight problems which are of great contemporary significance.
Bali was Bali, Delhi is Delhi. India's G20 Sherpa has highlighted 5 major points from the declaration: strong and sustainable growth, accelerating progress on sustainable development goals, green development, multilateral institutions for the 21st century, and reviving global cooperation. Now these are mostly socio-economic issues. Of course, there's politics too, like countering terrorism. The Delhi Declaration commits to supporting the FATF, that's the Financial Action Task Force. It's the same watchdog that put Pakistan on its grey list. Another issue is cryptocurrency. The G20 leaders have called for regulating, supervising, and overseeing the crypto market. The finance minister will take this issue forward. And finally, we have climate change. The Delhi Declaration acknowledges the impact of climate change, especially on least developed countries and islands. It urges all countries to follow the Paris Agreement. And what does it say? That global warming should be limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. It looks impossible right now. 1.5 degrees. Many experts say 2 degrees would be a blessing. So the G20 leaders have agreed to take stock. The declaration urges all countries to revisit and strengthen their emission targets. But is the Delhi Declaration better than others on climate action? India's G20 Sherpa says yes it is. He has highlighted 3 reasons why. Listen to this.
First time, G20 has talked about tripling of renewable energy capacity by 2030 globally. Secondly, this is the first document which talks about, which has very huge focus on fossil subsidies. And thirdly, this is the first time that there is a huge focus on billions to trillions of dollars in climate finance.
Those are the big takeaways from today. We had 2 sessions in the evening, one Earth and one family. We have another session tomorrow, which is one future. I know there's a lot of euphoria around the declaration, but let's not forget one thing. The joint statement is just one part of G20. A lot of work happens before it. In fact, I have some numbers for you. India has hosted more than 220 G20 meetings, 220 meetings. 17 of them were minister-level meetings. And where did they happen? Across the country, across India, around 60 cities, 60, hosted various G20 meetings in the past few months. And that was before today. Right now, around 43 world leaders are in New Delhi. These are heads of state plus heads of global agencies like the UN and the World Bank. There are 25,000 delegates from more than 115 countries in India's national capital, so the participation is very high and the outcomes are quite impressive. India has released around 112 outcome documents. That's around 2 to 5 times higher than the past G20 presidencies. These are all very impressive ethanol is not a fossil fuel. It is derived from fermented sugar. If you mix ethanol with petrol, you can reduce the consumption of fossil fuel. That is the plan here, to take ethanol blending up to 20%. Now to the second multilateral event that we attended, a cross-continental economic corridor. They're calling it the New Spice Route. It will link three important regions: Europe, West Asia, and India. I know you will have questions. How will this be done? Which countries are part of it? The network will include railway lines and ships. We told you about this yesterday. As for the partners, there are 5. From West Asia, we have Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Israel, and Jordan. From the West, we have the European Union, and from the East, we have India. The United States is also part of this project, but they will not be linked by this corridor. We'll discuss it in detail. But first, listen to Prime Minister Modi and President Biden.
हमारा मानना है कि कनेक्टिविटी विभिन्न देशों के बीच आपसी व्यापार ही नहीं, आपसी विश्वास भी बढ़ाने का स्रोत है। कनेक्टिविटी इनिशिएटिव को प्रमोट करते हुए कुछ मूलभूत सिद्धांतों का सुनिश्चित किया जाना महत्वपूर्ण है, जैसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय नॉर्म्स, रूल्स तथा लॉज का पालन, सभी देशों की संप्रभुता और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता का सम्मान।
As a key part of this corridor, we're going to invest in ships and rail that extends extends from India all the way to Europe, connected by the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. Bridging ports across 2 continents, unlocking endless opportunities, including making it far easier to trade, export clean energy, expand access to reliable, clean electricity, lay cables that will connect communities and secure a stable internet.
The idea is to make shipping cheaper, to expand trade in these regions, but you can't ignore the political angle. This corridor sounds a lot like China's Belt and Road Initiative, and that's not an accident. These countries are offering an alternative to China's BRI. Beijing's project is considered a debt trap. It also lacks transparency, which is why Prime Minister Modi emphasized on both these things. He said this new corridor will be transparent and will respect sovereignty. If you look at the timing, it's perfect. BRI projects are losing steam. Countries like Italy are leaving, so now is the time. And look at how broad this partnership is. It's got Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Israel. The key is to sell this vision to the global south to convince them that it's better than the BRI. So day 1 of the G20 has in fact exceeded expectations. We got a joint statement. We got 3 bilateral meetings. We got 2 successful sessions and a strategic agreement that could free the global south from China's debt